Last 5 seconds. Ready? Start. Sir, in according my support to this bill, I wish to congratulate the Honorable Minister for the lucid way in which he placed the bill before us. He showed us that he has a grip over the facts and he spoke for a good length of the time. Very convincingly, he referred to the way in which this has been a landmark in the history of our maritime law. There were different laws, as he said, laws of some which had been passed by the British Parliament when the British were here and which we adopted after we attained independence, and some of which had been passed by our own legislatures. All of them have been now codified into one law, and this has been a very good effort on the part of the government. In fact, several attempts were made to codify the law, but unfortunately, owing to our difficulties about the British interests, we were not able to do that. So it has been the good fortune of this minister to have for the first time codified all the maritime laws and then placed the maritime history on its way to glory. He has also referred to the glorious traditions we had in the past in our maritime traditions. This house knows very well how Dr. Radha Mukherjee, who was our colleague, gave us an account of the glorious achievements of our maritime forces in the past. I only hope that with this new codification of the law, we will re-alive that glory and, as the Honorable Minister said, regain our old position. He was pleased to refer to the most important provisions. There have been many salutary provisions, out of which two are very important and I would like to refer to them. And one is regarding the National Shipping Board. I must congratulate the government for having very broadly thought of making this provision for all interests and particularly the non-official element. I must thank him for having given a very good representation to the parliament or members of both the houses. As he said, the government could not be very rigid in forming this committee because by gaining the experience in the field, it should be possible to alter the provisions so that government should have the necessary discretion to give representation to other interests if it comes to believe that their representation is necessary. Now, in view of the policy initiated by the government since 1947, the government have been very seriously considering the shortage of our tonnage. We have been spending foreign exchange from rupees 150 to rupees 200 crores every year, and it should be the earnest endeavor of the government to save this foreign exchange. Apart from that, as the minister has remarked, it is the second line of the defense in the country, so one should be able to fall back upon a supplementary source in time of need, and the merchant ships would certainly serve such a purpose in case of need. Therefore, it has been the earnest endeavor of the government to encourage increase in tonnage owned by Indians. Therefore, welcome that provision. Probably it will go a long time before we can add up to the Indian tonnage. The most controversial clause, as Honorable Minister was saying, is this clause 21. When I first read it and when I went through the evidence also and also the minister's interruptions during the select committee discussions, I was not very sure that the government had adopted such as an absolute fact that it should be 100% national in consonance with the policy laid down or the policy visualized by the reconstruction policy subcommittee. They have now made this provision. Today he was categorical that their object is to see that the tonnage should all be owned by Indians and operated by Indians. It is a matter of pride to any Indian that we come to have a tonnage of our own, that we come to have ships going over the high seas, ships owned by Indians and managed by Indians, and naturally nobody can take exception to that. But if that were the policy of the government, I would like to know where was the need for this clause 21 here. The essential elements of this clause are these: a ship is to be declared to be in the register as an Indian ship if it is owned by individuals who are Indian citizens, and if it is owned by a company, then at least 75% of its share capital should be held by Indians, and three-fourths of the directors of the company should be Indians, and the chairman or the managing director must be Indian, and if a company is a managing agent, it must have Indian owned majority equity shares, and the company must be formed with Indian capital. Similarly, there should be Indian majority at least in the directors. Stop.